Okay, thank you, Ray.
Good afternoon, everyone. How many of you like the minimum wage? Because I sure don't. You like it? All right. Well, come to find out, I would like to share with you first and most. I found this interesting. The minimum wage did not originate here in the United States, and it started off in the 1930s during the Great Depression. It also initiated the Fair Labor Standards Act. It originated in Australia and New Zealand in the 1890s. I found that kind of weird because I thought we were the first ones to initiate it. But it's a vital element in the U.S. Employers pay the employees, and that's how most of us get paid. During the 1930s of the Great Depression, a lot of women, children, men were being exploited, overworked, underpaid, no safe environments or anything like that. But most of the time, the minimum wage now, as we know, it's a federal law or it's an agreement with the union. It also decided to do that because to increase standard of living of people. Poverty was a big time hit during the Great Depression. There was no food, no standards of living in an apartment or anything like that, so most of us have to pay bills. It also encourages efficiency and automation of industry. Although there are some opponents back then during the Great Depression because they said that it will hurt small businesses. It may cause price inflation as businesses try to compensate by raising the prices of the goods, making them no profit. Discourages further education among the poor by enticing people to enter new job markets. The idea, like I said earlier, it originated in Australia and New Zealand. It was basically meant for sweatshops known back then, and child labor, and women most of all. The reason why the United States actually initiated to do the minimum wage was to decrease exploitation and to those who were subjected to burdensome conditions of employment and inadequate pay. By June 1938, Congress passed a bill which was called the Fair Labor Standards Act by Franklin D. Roosevelt, the former president at the time. At first, he feared to actually present the bill because he thought his surroundings and the men of Congress would consider that unconstitutional. But as he heard around, the Congress actually liked the idea, so he pursued it and they passed the bill. But he did face a lot of oppositions from the Congress, those who were conservatives. But by 1963, the Equal Pay Act was also amended to back up the FLSA. It meant that women were allowed to be paid as well on the equal level sex. Just because we're women doesn't mean we get paid less than a man. It was also a major step as women to have an upper rights, and because we're viewed as a man of a household. Who benefited the minimum wage was basically children, everyone in the nation. Children, no more exploitations. Women, equality in pay between men and women. The Fair Labor Standard Act makes sure everyone gets paid. Although it doesn't cover holidays, sick days, severance pay days, or any vacation days paid, but it does protect us from not being exploited. But it does affect most private and public employments, and it gives also equality to blacks and the same equal rights of labor and pay. As during the Great Depression, a lot of black men were being exploited and abused. In closing, it's difficult to imagine life in our nation not to have the Fair Labor Standards Act to protect us from exploitation. The proposition of the former President Roosevelt Franklin D. benefited the people in the 1930s as well as it does today, to help us survive and have a decent standard of living so we don't have to live in poverty. While we still have the Fair Labor Standard Act protecting us from employers to ever abuse us, we can sure not be taken advantage of ever again and still work in a safe environment.
4 minutes. And